Hi guys, Nada here, and today I'm going to talk about this ROG Flow Z13 that is definitely one of the coolest little devices that ASUS has launched this year. So it is pretty much a tablet that is stuffed with proper laptop hardware, and this model right here comes with an i9-12900H processor, RTX 3050 Ti graphics card, 16 gigs of DDR5 memory, and 120Hz 1200p display, which is really impressive. But also, having such high-end components in such a tiny space doesn't come without any consequences. So let's check out this gaming tablet and talk about a few things that you should know before spending around $2,000 on it. Let's begin. This video is brought to you by Corsair and their MP600 Pro LPX SSD. This high-performance Gen 4 SSD offers read speeds of up to 7,100 megabytes per second, and it comes with a nice low-profile heatsink, making it a perfect fit for your PlayStation 5 as well as your PC. It is available in several capacities, going up to 4 terabytes, and it comes with a comfortable 5-year-long warranty. Check it out using the links in the description below. Even though it looks like a typical gaming laptop, the Z13 really is a tablet with a keyboard attached to it. All the hardware actually sits behind the touchscreen, so if you disconnect the magnetic keyboard, you're left with a 13-inch tablet that's barely more than a centimeter thick and weighs around 1.2 kilos. Now with the keyboard, however, its weight is closer to 1.5. And that is actually pretty impressive considering its specs. It does come with a fully adjustable kickstand, which kind of allows you to set it at whatever angle you like, down to around 170 degrees. You shouldn't really try to lay it flat completely because you really don't want to cover those vents on the back. Now it is very sturdy, and both the metal finish as well as the stand are really well done. It doesn't really twist or bend almost at all, and it just feels like a high quality device. There's also this little RGB lit window on the back that shows a small part of the PCB, and I think it's a cool little detail that adds a bit more to the gamey design of this product. But I do have to say I don't really like the keyboard myself. I understand that they want to keep it light, but to me it just feels like one of those $100 keyboards that you add to your typical tablet. I mean, it works just fine, but the keys feel pretty basic and the construction does flex a lot when you type. So it's going to be fine if you game a bit on it every once in a while, but for longer typing sessions, I think this cannot really compete with a proper laptop. That being said, I do appreciate the built-in backlight. And pretty much the same goes for the touchpad. Now, it works well enough and it's pretty smooth, but it's a bit small and you will usually get a better experience from a high-end 13 to 14-inch notebook. Now, because of its small size, there are some limitations when it comes to connections, obviously. So you get a single Thunderbolt Type-C connector on the left that is also used to charge the laptop, as well as the special ROG XG connector that is used to connect the ASUS XG mobile external GPUs. So you can have this RTX 3050 Ti with you when you're on the go, and then connect to your RTX 3080, for example, when you get home. Now, unfortunately, ASUS doesn't sell these XG units everywhere, and here in the Netherlands, for example, it is actually impossible to get one. So unless you already bought an ROG X13 last year that did include one, or you imported from another country, for example, you cannot really use this connection. Now, on the right side, you get an audio jack and a USB Type-A port. I really do appreciate having the regular Type-A port, but with 2 USB ports total, you should probably still buy some sort of a hub to go with this tablet. They also had to give up some of the typical upgrade and maintenance options that you would expect from a gaming laptop, and this being a tablet isn't really meant to be opened by the end user. However, they did add a small cover to allow you to replace the SSD. Now it's a smaller 2230 M.2 SSD, but you can actually buy a 2 terabyte version in that size and put that in instead. And they've also added an SD card slot, so you can also add a large SD card for a larger game library. Now, as you would expect from the i9-12900H, it performs really well. Single-core performance is in line with the latest high-end gaming laptops, and while it's a bit lower in the charts in multi-core workloads because it has a 50-watt power limit, it still has a really good score, beating the Ryzen 9 5900HX in the ROG G15 from last year and being just behind the 70-watt i7-12700H in the Aorus 15P. So this 6P core and 8E core CPU will easily handle any sort of heavy workloads that you can throw at it. And what is really important, it kind of handles it very well thermally. So in the extreme mode, the CPU runs at around 71 degrees with around 41 decibels of noise. 71 degrees isn't that much for a processor like this one, so technically, they could have pushed the CPU even harder. Now, 41 decibels at 50 centimeters distance is audible, but it is still a lot quieter than most gaming laptops. And keep in mind that this is during a stress test, so it's not going to be that loud during a normal use. So I think this is a very good result. But if you really want to keep it even more quiet, the performance mode offers a nicer balance, I would say. The CPU is just over 60 degrees during a heavy workload, while only measuring around 36 decibels, which is barely audible. Now, the CPU performance is down by a little bit because it's now running closer to 37 watts, but it's actually not that much. But when it comes to gaming, it is a bit more complicated, I would say. The Z13 comes with either a 3050, a 3050 Ti, or an integrated graphics only, in which case you kind of do need an external GPU if you want to game properly. And the model that I have right here is the top spec version with the 3050 Ti, which still has some limitations. So it only has 4 gigabytes of VRAM, and it's only a 35-watt GPU that goes to 40 watts with dynamic boost. Now, I usually test gaming laptops on higher settings that use more than 4 gigabytes of memory, but even in games that kind of need less than 4 gigs, you can see that even an entry-level RTX 3060 that a gaming laptop like MSI GF66 Katana has will easily outperform this one because of its higher power levels. Now, I really do appreciate that they added a mux switch this time around, which will definitely help in some games, but it cannot really fully compensate for using a lower power GPU. But this is a tablet after all, and it doesn't need to compare to proper gaming laptops. The only thing it needs to do is to be powerful enough to handle most games at the native resolution of 1920 by 1200p. So if we drop most games to medium, at which point 4 gigabytes of VRAM is enough, the results actually do look much better. Lighter games like Doom Eternal and CSGO run very well and make use of that faster 120Hz display, and heavier titles typically run around 60 FPS, mostly with DLSS helping out. But there are also some games that struggle to hit 60 FPS, like Dying Light 2, which you need to set to low instead. But again, this is a very heavy title and you're trying to game on a tablet after all. The Z13 comes with 2 display options, so you can either go for a 4K 60Hz one or this 1920 by 1200p 120Hz model, which in my opinion makes so much more sense on a 13-inch display. So the panel goes quite bright, hitting 542 nits, which is well above average, making it a pretty nice device to use outdoors. Just keep in mind that it is very reflective. It dims properly too, dropping to a minimum white level of 29 nits. Contrast is good for an IPS panel, standing at 1379:1, and the color performance is decent as well. Now, it's not a wide gamut display for anyone working in P3 or Adobe RGB color spaces, but it covers the sRGB color space really well, and the factory calibration to sRGB is pretty good. So you can, for example, do any sort of web content creation right out of the box just fine. Now, of course, this is a touchscreen display, and this is a tablet after all, and even though you can use a stylus on it too, they did not really include one, and you will have to buy one yourself. Now, this is not a particularly fast display either, and response times just aren't that great. It scores an average initial response time of about 18 milliseconds, and it has an 18 millisecond average gray to gray transition, which does result in some visible ghosting while gaming. Now, it is not really that bad subjectively, but you can actually expect much better from a similarly priced gaming laptops. And the total system latency, so input lag plus initial response time, is around 45 milliseconds. So obviously, this is not really made with competitive gaming in mind. Now, it does come with a 56 watt-hour battery, and you get about 4 hours of productivity and around 6 hours and 30 minutes in my Netflix test, and it lasted a couple of minutes less with the keyboard attached to it. Now, honestly, considering it has an i9, I don't think the result is that bad, and I don't really think they have much room left to optimize it beyond that. When it comes to speakers, they're actually quite okay. They go pretty loud and they're completely fine for watching some content, but what I really do mind is that they're positioned right where you're supposed to hold it in tablet mode. So you have very little choice but to cover them with your hand. So using the stand is preferred, or you can hold it upside down, which will fix the problem, but it's not really ideal for gaming nor for watching something on the go. The front-facing camera is fine in my opinion. I would say it is above average when you compare it to gaming laptops. There's also another camera on the back, which really, I would say, only makes sense to use if you insist on taking pictures with this in tablet mode. It's not even that bad, but I just don't really see many people using it over a smartphone, and even a mid-range smartphone will take much better pictures than this. So I think it's fair to say that the Z13 is a very interesting but also a very complicated device. They have definitely done a great job with the whole design and with stuffing so much hardware into an extremely portable device, and it is genuinely nice to see a tablet that's playing some of the latest AAA titles at 60 FPS or more. Now, compared to a typical gaming laptop, the RTX 3050 Ti just isn't as good of a gaming GPU as a 3060 would be. The keyboard isn't that nice for longer typing sessions, and it will cost you a lot more. So this top spec version will sell for around 2,100 euros here in the Netherlands, and it should be around $1,900 in the US without taxes. Keep in mind, you can actually buy the excellent ROG Zephyrus G14 with an RTX 3060 for a lot less. And the G14 will be a bit thicker, but it's only about 200 grams more, and it will offer a better keyboard, better gaming performance, and a better battery life. And in my opinion, it just makes so much more sense for anyone that is looking for a light and portable gaming device. But as I said before, if you really want this touchscreen tablet form factor for some reason, you shouldn't really care about how it compares to a gaming laptop, as it's not really fair to compare the two. And if that's you, then this Flow Z13 would be a great choice. For anyone else out there, I strongly recommend that you check my G14 review. I will leave the link in the description down below. Now, that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching, and see you guys in the next one. Bye!